Greetings, adventurers. This is another iconic archetype with GM Comfortable Gray. But first, I would like to thank my patrons on Patreon. Sneeze, Alex Schramm, Chris Wagner, Christopher Wright, Dan Tyree, Goobler Blubby, James Graves, Keith, Lee Farbstein, Noble, Ralcor, The Great Hoopla, The Horse Force, and Zachary Fielstra. Thank you all for what you do, contributing to my games and my adventures. We're going to be running Fabula Ultima soon, and I wouldn't be able to try things beyond the D20 without you. So, let's go ahead and look at this character. Clearly, this is a gnome. I don't see any forest or leaf iconography, so it's not a forest gnome, it's a rock gnome. Pretty cool, get that standard 60-foot dark vision. Gnomish Cunning for advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Actually really powerful to have advantage on half of the saving throws. Gnomish Lineage, I said rock gnome, which gives us the Mending and Prestidigitation cantrips. Mending actually comes up a lot, and Prestidigitation is almost as good as Minor Illusion. It rewards a lot of creativity. You can do a little bit more. You can't necessarily hide behind it. It's still good. In addition, you can use that Prestidigitation to create tiny clock devices. So this is the most technical character we have so far, and it's going to come up because you can basically give Prestidigitation to other people. There's nothing in here saying that the device requires hands either. For ability scores, 8 strength, 15 dexterity, 14 constitution, 15 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 8 charisma. It's not that this character isn't very good at talking to people, it's that they tend to talk too much. They just don't let you get a word in edgewise. Never stop talking. Never. For background, the options that by default give you that dexterity and intelligence combination are Artisan, which is what we're going for, which gives you strength, dexterity, or intelligence. Charlatan for dexterity, constitution, or intelligence. Criminal for dexterity, constitution, and intelligence. Scribe for dexterity, intelligence, or wisdom, and those with skilled or with alert. And with Artisan, it gives us investigation and persuasion. I didn't talk about the skills too much with the other classes, but skills are pretty much what rogues are doing in this game. So I will be very specific about what we're taking. Then for Artisan tools, it doesn't mean you can get herbalism kit. Those are considered other things. So these tools, disguise kits, instruments, unfortunately aren't really accessible for this character off the top. So take alchemical supplies as an artisan tool, and then also take carpenter tools, smithing tools, and weaver's tools. I thought about doing tinkery, but I feel like smith's going to be a little bit better for this character. I feel like that's going to give you access to wood, stone, metal, and fabric crafting. You can basically make anything with this character. And we're finally on to level 1 for the rogue. D8 hit die, not the high level hit die for martials, but still okay. Saving throw proficiencies in dexterity and intelligence, skill proficiencies, we're going to be choosing acrobatics, deception, stealth, and sleight of hand, and it gives you thieves tools proficiency. For weapon proficiencies, simple weapons and any martial weapons that have finesse or light properties, just a short list in there. And light armor training, you're going to have a high dexterity, so you're not going to be really hurting in our armor class. You can't get shields, so you're not going to be great in armor class. At level 1, you get expertise. I think we're going to go with what they suggest, stealth and sleight of hand. Notice that I didn't get perception on this character. That's largely because I feel like they're a little addle-brained. They're not the wisest. They can be very distracted or obsessed with the wrong things. But you got investigation, so when you need to put your nose down to find something, you still can. And then you get sneak attack as well. Still, you're mostly going to be using a short bow or some type of ranged weapon, maybe a hand crossbow. Most of the time, you don't want to get up front. And just have an ally nearby in order to give you the sneak attack, or maybe hide, or use some other feature to get the advantage. For a reliable sneak attack, you can still do sneak attack outside of your turn. So maybe you can do some combinations with your party to get extra sneak attacks, and that's going to massively improve your damage. You also get Thieves' Cant. These various languages, you get to choose one other language, and because you have a high intelligence, you get a lot of languages. I suggest going Elvish, Dwarvish, Gnomish, Draconic, and then start getting to the more monstrous species. Thieves' Cant is a lot of fun because it's like a roleplay opportunity. It gets you in with the underworld of your game. For weapon mastery, you're going to get whatever you're using. It's very valuable for rogues to get the Nick weapon mastery because it gives you another way to save your bonus action, which is very useful at higher levels, even just level 2 with your Cunning action. And every time you miss, that's a big cost on your sneak attack. You just get 1 sneak attack per round, so you just need that attack to hit, and then you're satisfied. So try to get Nick, but also you want to get a short bow or a hand crossbow, maybe even a light crossbow for your weapon masteries. Level 2, Cunning action, always great to have a bonus action dash, disengage, or hide. That hide's going to be giving you advantage pretty reliably. You've got a really good dexterity plus expertise. You're going to be hiding from most enemies most of the time. Maybe some of them have blind sight or things like that, but you're probably going to have a sense that this is an enemy that you don't want to trifle with anyway. Then at level 3, we finally get our Arcane Trickster. This is a fun looking subclass. You are using your mage hand very creatively. So first, let's go with the cantrips. You have to get mage hand. It can be invisible, which means you can use it a little bit more sneakily. Then I think True Strike is a must-have on the rogue. It's just free damage, and you can always switch it to that radiant type. I considered making this a character that doesn't go very high in dexterity, kind of like an intelligence, mastermind-based rogue, but we're going to stick with it because dexterity is what you need to use for attack opportunity, or most of your reaction strikes. You're not going to be able to use True Strike unless you got Warcaster. Doesn't really fit in this build, though it is a potential option. Then Minor Illusion, it's basically upgrading your Prestidigitation, a great way to give yourself cover, and with cover, now you can hide. For spells to know, you don't get a lot of spells per day. You're only going to get at maximum, let's say, 4, 3, 3, and 1. So you get 11 spells per day at level 20. You have 2 spells right now. Ritual spells are very valuable on the Arcane Trickster. So get Find Familiar. You can give that familiar your little Prestidigitation trinket. And normally familiars can't attack, can't reliably do damage, but now you can have a fire starter. Now you can have a mobile distraction device. And that type of creativity without putting your character at risk can be really powerful. Also, get Featherfall, because maybe you need to jump out and save yourself and some friends, and Silent Image. I will also say, for Find Familiar, a lot of good options exist now, like the Goat or the Vulture. Both of them give you a new movement speed. You're a gnome, you're one of the smallest possible characters, so the Vulture could probably pick you up in its talons and carry you if you can't find a proper saddle for it. That ability to fly with no concentration at level 3 is probably busted. Talk to your game master about it beforehand, but rules as written, the Vulture is a CR0 beast. It's medium, you're small, it adds up. Level 4, your ability score increase. You are going to get an extra one of these. I don't know what we're taking here. I can see Poisoner being really good just to apply that extra damage, but the poison is expensive, and this would help guarantee that damage by ignoring the resistances enemies might have to it. Immunity doesn't happen very often, unless of course they're undead constructs, so it's very obvious that they're immune to it. Resistant is sometimes a little bit sneakier. So Poisoner, good for the +1 dexterity. Also get Shadow Touched for invisibility, extra spell per day, or Fey Touched for Misty Step and extra spells per day. Those can really add a lot to it, but those are only the 3 feats this character's going to have. I don't know what order they're going to be in, honestly. I think that really depends on the campaign. I lean towards getting Shadow Touched first, which means you're not going to get that 18 dexterity at level 4. So maybe gauge that. The last 2 would be +2 dexterity and +2 intelligence to have a 20 and 20 in each of them as you go on. Level 5, not too much here. You're going to be getting your Cunning strikes and your Uncanny Dodge. Uncanny Dodge is just a reliable thing to spend your reaction on to reduce the damage you're taking, to sort of have the damage round down. That could reduce it to 0 if you have other ways to reduce it already. Cunning Strike is a really nice addition that rogues get now. So just after you hit, you can choose to spend some of your sneak attack dice to instead do these effects. All of these ones only cost 1d6. Poison, it's not really about doing damage with this poison, it's the poison condition. They do make a repetitive constitution saving throws, so there's not huge amount of reliability, and you must have a poisoner's kit on your person. Still, Trip is kind of like having an extra weapon mastery. You can just give the prone condition after saving throw, or withdraw gives you that movement. So you need to know what's going on in the combat to decide what you're going to use as far as your Cunning strike. But none of them are bad choices, and your Arcane hand is going to be helping you later with that. Level 6, you get additional expertise. I think go for investigation and go for deception. You have a bad charisma, but you still might get caught even with your ridiculous dexterity and stealth. Deception is going to get you out of those sticky situations. Level 7, you get your second level spells finally. You aren't even a half caster. Very slow spell progression for the Arcane Trickster, but it's kind of required. You need to get invisibility. You can swap spells out. You could have gotten additional rituals as you were learning things, but it's only a couple spells. Maybe you took Disguise Self earlier, but invisibility is a must-have on the Arcane Trickster because your class features depend on it. Level 8, your next ability score increase. Probably the +2 dexterity if you got Poisoner before, or Poisoner if you got something else before. You don't need to get Poisoner. There are other good feats to get. I just feel like this is the one that builds into that character. Level 9, Magical Ambush. This is why you got invisibility. This is why you might have taken Shadow Touched in order to get an additional invisibility and save that preparation for something else. If you have Invisible, when you cast a spell on a creature, it has disadvantage on any saving throw and makes against the spell on the same turn. You have access to the entire wizard spell list, so maybe get some scrolls of, I don't know, like sleep, like cheap scrolls, maybe learn sleep. This Magical Ambush is going to allow your spells to actually be more effective than a lot of the spellcasters at this level, because you can give enemies disadvantage on the saving throws, which not a lot of things affect saving throws. Maybe you want to cast Mind Sliver to soften them, and then you can use this invisibility to soften them even more. It's only that you're only making them easier to succumb to your spells. So it's not a group thing, but the rogue can have a habit of going out on his own. Level 10, you get an additional ability score increase and a cantrip. Probably Mind Sliver at that point. So you've got Mending, Prestidigitation, Mage Hand, True Strike, Minor Illusion, and Mind Sliver. That's a well-rounded character. You can do a lot with that. And you also get another ability score increase. Fey Touched, +2 Dexterity, +2 Intelligence. Lots of options within that. Level 11, Improve Cunning Strike. You could use up to 2 Cunning Strike effects when you do sneak attack damage. Paying the die cost for each, you don't have any additional ones, but you can kind of withdraw and trip at the same time, and that's going to give you mobility. I think it needs to be 2 different Cunning Strikes. You can't withdraw twice at the cost of 2d6. Level 12, ability score increase. Just get what you haven't gotten so far from what I said earlier. Level 13, third level spells. I think you can unlearn Silent Image if you learned it way earlier, and instead get Major Image, or Fly and Haste are another good combination of spells. I really feel like here you want to unlearn something you took earlier on, especially if you got Fey Touch or Shadow Touch, that opens up for spells to get, so you can get Fly and Haste as soon as possible. Fly, especially if your game master didn't like you doing the vulture flying thing, and I wouldn't blame them. Haste allows you to give yourself an attack of opportunity, kind of, outside of your turn, because you can use your haste strike on your turn. Done. That's hopefully going to be your first sneak attack. Then, on the end of your turn, use your action to declare a held action. When an enemy moves or an enemy turn start, you attack them using this action plus reaction combo. You can now perpetually do 2 sneak attacks per turn without any interference. Major Image, also a wonderful spell to get around here. Level 13 is going to be giving your next subclass feature, Versatile Trickster, which now means you can trip 2 people and just stretching out your sneak attack, your cunning strikes to do additional trip. I think level 13 doing trips, not wild, but maybe you could trip a flying enemy, large Pegasus or a Hippogriff or something like that. So it's still adding something to your character. Level 14, Devious Strikes. Now you've got even better, more expensive strikes. Daze, Constitution save, and you reduce the number of actions your enemy can take. Really powerful on action economy. Issue is that many times you'll want to do this against a big, strong enemy. You'll need Mind Sliver or something to reduce their saving throw. Knockout, 66, very expensive, but unconscious, and when they're unconscious, they're going to be very vulnerable for that minute. Hopefully, if the initiative's right, you can knock them out and that'll give you and your entire party a chance to set up and then alpha strike next turn. Knockout, I think, works at level 14. It feels good. Obscure, give the enemy the blinded condition until the end of his turn. That's more classic pocket sand. Dexterity saving throw. It's good. I like these devious strikes, and you can use these as well as the previous cunning strikes too, and just use a lot of the sneak attack damage for these effects instead. Level 15, Slippery Mind, proficiency in wisdom and charisma saving throws. Love it. Just because you have advantage on them, and now you also have proficiency in them. Maybe if you didn't want to earlier, then you could change one of your feats for resilient intelligence and just have really good saving throws on a rogue. Level 16 is going to be your final ability score improvement. Now you're at the 20 and the 20, nice feats. Level 17, your final subclass feature. Spell Thief is really cool. Once per day, you can use your reaction to not only protect yourself against a spell, but also you have the spell prepared and it doesn't need to be a rogue spell. In theory, you could have a friend heal you, use Cure Wounds, use Healing Word or something like that, and then you steal the spell, now you have a new spell. Or you can use it for the defensive feature. But Spell Thief, it's really cool potentially to cast spells you don't normally have. I do wish that there's a way to use it more than once per long rest. Maybe there's an artifact or something like that to expand Spell Thief. And also, it comes on at level 17, and you can only do this for 3rd level spells at this point, and will only ever be able to do it for 4th level spell. So you can catch a fireball, but only protecting yourself. At least it negates the spell's effect against you, but still, getting fireball on a rogue, that's pretty good. Level 18, you get elusive, and you basically can't be vulnerable to enemies' attacks. You're not going to give people advantage. That's kind of like giving yourself extra armor class. Level 19, Epic Boon. I do feel like the boon of dimensional travel is the go-to for the rogue. Irresistible Offense, another good choice. Combat Prowess, another good choice, because you really do want to hit once per round. So any of those three, it depends on what you're hurting for. If you get Dimensional Travel, then why not unlearn Misty Step unless you got it from Fate Touched. Level 20, Stroke of Luck. Pass a d20 every short rest. Getting the natural 20 doesn't guarantee success, but you're probably doing something you're good at, and most DCs aren't higher than 20. Maybe you'll get some 25s, some 30s, maybe a 35 here and there. But for the rogue, those are still possible with a 20. And that's it. We sped through this character, but I'll say that my Dragonlance campaign is full. Thank you for everybody has joined on Start Playing and Patreon into this campaign. Really appreciate everything you're doing to make this possible, but we still have space in my Fabula Ultima or my Savage Worlds campaigns. Hope you'll join me. Happy gaming to you.